Most gardeners look at the shady side of their yard and see wasted space. I used to do the same thing. I'd stare at that dim corner under the maple tree, that north-facing strip along the fence, and feel defeated. Every seed catalog told me I needed 6 to 8 hours of full sun. So I kept cramming everything into the same sunny patch, wondering why half my garden bolted in June and tasted like cardboard by July. Then I started digging into what old-time kitchen gardeners actually grew, and I realized I'd been leaving some of the most productive, most historically rich ground in my entire yard completely empty. It turns out shade isn't a problem to solve. For a whole category of crops, shade is the whole point. And the gardeners who figured that out centuries ago, they ate better than most of us do today. This knowledge didn't come from a trend. It came from generations of people. Medieval monastery gardeners, Japanese mountain foragers, Appalachian homesteaders, French kitchen gardeners who fed royal families, who learned over centuries that certain plants don't just tolerate shade, they demand it. They perform better out of the sun. They taste better. They last longer. They stop bolting when you move them into the dim spots everyone else ignores. What modern gardeners are finally rediscovering is that the shady corners of your yard aren't wasted space. They're the most underused real estate in your garden. I grew up watching my grandmother tuck plants into odd corners where nothing was supposed to grow, and I never understood why until I tried it myself. Today, I'm going to show you 12 crops that love shade, crops you must plant in April, that will change the way you think about your garden forever. Stick around because number 7 on this list is a plant most people in the West grow exclusively as decoration. But in Japan, it's been a commercial vegetable for centuries, and you've probably got dozens of them in your yard right now, doing nothing. And number 12 is so ancient, so genuinely dramatic, that once you see it coming out of the ground in spring, you will never look at your shady wet corner the same way again. Make sure you hit that subscribe button because we post practical, old-school growing knowledge every week that will save you money and help you grow more food in the space you already have. So let's get into it. Number 1, Arteminer's lettuce. I want to start here because this one is so fast and so tied to real human survival that it sets the tone for everything else on this list. The Ohlone people of California called it ruré and ate it as a spring tonic for centuries. In 1848, when thousands of gold rush miners started dropping from scurvy, bleeding gums, failing joints, the whole terrible picture, the indigenous people around them were perfectly healthy because they were eating this. That's where the name comes from. People keeping themselves alive with a plant that grows in the shade. Here's why shade works. It evolved as a woodland understory plant. Full sun doesn't just slow it down. It tells the plant the season is ending, triggering bitterness and rapid bolting. Shade is its natural condition. Direct sow a 1/4 inch deep. That's 4 to 6 inches apart. Germination in 4 to 14 days. Harvest in 37 to 42 days. Cut and come again until the heat shuts it down. The thing most people miss, the mature leaves look like perfectly round lily pads, with the stem poking right through the center and tiny white flowers growing out of the middle. Nothing else in your garden looks like this. Give it one season and you'll wonder why it took you this long. Number 2, chervil. Medieval monastery gardens called this the herb of joy. The name literally comes from the Greek for rejoice. It was one of the 4 sacred herbs of classic French cooking alongside parsley, tarragon, and chives. French kitchen gardeners used it for centuries as the quiet foundation of sauces and spring salads. It disappeared from modern cooking almost entirely because it wilts within hours of cutting and loses all flavor when dried. The grocery store world moved on. Home gardeners forgot it existed. Here's what experience tells me. Once you grow this, you'll be baffled that it ever went away. Delicate, lacy, anise-flavored leaves that, in shade, stay tender and useful for weeks longer than they would in full sun. Direct sow a 1/4 inch deep in mid to late April. Fragile taproot, never transplant, 6 to 12 inches apart. Use fresh seed only. Viability drops fast after 1 year. germination in 14 to 28 days, harvest in 6 to 8 weeks. The single biggest mistake is planting it in full sun. It bolts within weeks. Shade is not a compromise for this plant. It is the required growing condition. Plant it under a tree, on the north side of your bean poles. That's where it wants to be, and that's where it will reward you. Number 3, land cress, poor man's cabbage, scurvy cress, and my personal favorite, creasy greens, which is what Appalachian mountain families have called it for generations, cooked down with fat back like collards. St. Barbara, patron of artillerymen and miners, has her name in the Latin for this plant because it was used to treat wounds. That's a different kind of plant backstory than most things in your seed catalog. The remarkable thing about land cress as a companion plant is almost nobody knows this. Diamondback moths and cabbage moths will preferentially lay their eggs on it instead of your brassicas, but their caterpillars can't survive it. Researchers confirmed it produces compounds that kill caterpillars from inside. It's a self-renewing biological pest trap. Sow a 1/4 inch deep, 4 to 8 inches apart. Germination in 7 to 14 days. Harvest baby leaves in 30 to 45 days. Plant it as a border around your kale and cabbage beds. It protects them while you eat it. That's the kind of double duty that old kitchen gardeners built their whole approach around. Number 4, Komatsuna. In 1719, a shogun passed through a village near the Komatsu River outside what is now Tokyo and was served a tender, spicy green. He liked it so much he named it after the river. Documented history. One of the most precisely sourced vegetable naming stories in agriculture. Komatsuna is sometimes called Japanese mustard spinach, which is technically accurate and practically useless. It doesn't taste like mustard or spinach, and calling it that makes it sound exotic when it's actually one of the easiest, fastest, most forgiving greens you can grow. Excellent harvests with just 3 to 4 hours of direct sun. Dark, glossy leaves, dense with chlorophyll. This plant captures light efficiently in reduced conditions. Sow a 1/4 to a 1/2 inch deep. Germination in 3 to 4 days, fastest on this list. Baby leaf harvest in 21 to 25 days. For cut and come again, cut 2 centimeters above soil and it regrows for a second full harvest. I keep coming back to tender green. Open pollinated, reliable, widely available. If you want it faster, Summerfest Hybrid gets you to baby leaf in 21 days. Either way, you're eating before the month is out. Number 5, Sweet Sicily. Picture a medieval English monastery in the 14th century. The monks grow this plant specifically to strew on the church floor. The footsteps of hundreds of people crush the leaves all day, and the whole building smells of anise. Documented. And before cheap sugar became widely available, this plant sweetened food in kitchens across Europe for centuries. It contains natural compounds many times sweeter than table sugar, and it noticeably reduces the need for added sweetener in fruit dishes. It survives with as few as 2 to 3 hours of direct sun. One of the most deeply shade-tolerant edible plants in a temperate garden. Not an exaggeration. For April planting, division from an established plant is the practical method. Seeds require cold stratification and can take months to germinate. Give it 24 to 36 inches of space. Within a season, you have a permanent perennial producing free sweetener with 20-inch fern-like leaves, silvery patches near the midrib, and the whole plant smelling of licorice when you brush it. One caution, its look-alike is poison hemlock. Crush a leaf. Sweet Sicily smells clean and sweet. Hemlock smells mousy and unpleasant. That check takes 3 seconds. Always make it. Number 6, Good King Henry. Now we're getting into the really remarkable ones. The name has a story most people get completely wrong. Heinrich, the original German, was an old name for a household elf, a kobold. Guter Heinrich, Good Henry, distinguished it from Böser Heinrich, Bad Henry, a nearby toxic weed. Medieval peasants knew their plants. They ate this one the way we eat spinach today, because spinach from Persia hadn't arrived yet. For centuries across Central and Northern Europe, this was the kitchen garden green. Then spinach arrived, became fashionable, and good King Henry quietly disappeared, nearly forgotten for 300 years. Here's why you want it now. It's a perennial. Plant it once in 3 to 4 hours of dappled shade and it comes back every year for decades. Spring shoots harvested like asparagus. Summer leaves harvested like spinach, one of the best dual harvest perennial vegetables in existence. Sow a 1/4 inch deep with prior cold stratification. 8 to 10 weeks in moist sand in the fridge. I started in early February for April sowing. Space 12 to 18 inches apart. Do not harvest in year 1. Year 2 is when this plant starts paying you back, and it will keep paying for the rest of your gardening life. Now, if you're finding this valuable and starting to realize how much has been hiding in plain sight, do me a huge favor. Hit that like button. It helps this reach people who are tired of overcomplicating something as ancient as growing food. And if you haven't subscribed yet, click that button and ring the bell. We're building a community of people who believe simplicity and working with nature will always beat expensive complexity. All right, let's keep going, because we're just getting to the truly remarkable ones. Number 7. Hosta shoots. I have to take a second here because this one still makes me laugh at myself. I had hosta in my yard for 11 years. They were everywhere. Under the maple, along the north fence, every dim corner. I thought of them as the world's most boring plant, something you grow when nothing else will grow there. Then I found out that in Japan's Yamagata prefecture, hostas are a commercial food crop, not ornamentals. The young tightly coiled shoots, called urui, are sold in grocery stores, served in restaurants, and grown in forcing sheds identical to Belgian endive production. Blanched to pearl white, sold at a premium, a tradition going back over 2,000 years, classified as sansai, ancient mountain vegetable culture. And in the West, we've been growing every single cultivar purely as decoration. All 3,000 plus of them. Everyone is edible. Harvest the shoots in spring when they're tightly furled, 5 to 6 inches tall, leaves still coiled. Blanch or steam like asparagus, mild, slightly earthy, genuinely delicious. For April planting, bare root crowns with the growing tip about an inch below soil level, 18 to 24 inches apart. Rich, moist, well-drained soil. 1 to 2 years to establish. Never take more than 1/3 of the shoots from any plant. Your ornamental garden becomes a food garden without changing a single thing. One critical note. Do not confuse young hosta shoots with lily of the valley. Lily of the valley is highly toxic. Know your plants. Number 8. Alpine strawberries. King Charles V of France planted 12,000 wild strawberry plants at the Louvre in 1368. A Louis XIV's personal gardener tended 1,400 of them at Versailles. Thomas Jefferson sowed 3 rows in March of 1774. Until the mid-1700s, this small, intensely aromatic woodland berry was the only strawberry that existed. The commercial strawberry was invented after 1750. Everything before that was this, and here's what gets me. This is a strawberry that performs better in partial shade, 4 to 6 hours of sun. In hot climates, it can only survive in shade. It's a woodland edge species, that's its home. Its entire biology is tuned for forest margins. Surface sow seeds, they need light to germinate. A thin dusting of vermiculite at most, or transplant starts in April, 6 to 12 inches apart, crown at soil level. The variety I grow is Alexandria, compact, shade-tolerant, producing continuously from June through October. No runners to manage, beautiful tucked under fruit trees, in the spots you'd otherwise leave empty. Plant it this April and you'll be eating strawberries by late June. Number 9. Shiso. Japanese farmers have cultivated this for over 2,000 years. Archaeological seeds from the Jomon period have been found. Red shiso is what gives umeboshi, pickled plums, that deep crimson color. Green shiso, the leaf under every piece of sashimi in a Japanese restaurant, contains natural antibacterial compounds that historically prevented food poisoning from raw fish. Practical food science before food science existed. Start indoors mid-April. This is a warm season crop that needs soil temperatures above 70 degrees and goes out after last frost. Surface sow or cover no more than a quarter inch, 10 to 12 inches apart. Cold stratify seeds a few days in the fridge first. Germination becomes dramatically more reliable. Red varieties have deep purple burgundy foliage with a metallic sheen. I've had people stop at my fence asking if it's a flower. It is not a flower, it is lunch. Anise and mint, and something faintly cinnamon. Unlike anything else you can grow, pinch flower spikes as they form. Let it go to seed and it spreads like mint. Manage it and it produces leaves all season long. Number 10. Lovage. Charlemagne issued a decree around 800 AD listing every plant required on all his imperial estates. Lovage was number 33 on that list. The oldest surviving Roman cookbook, Apicius, from the 1st through 5th century, uses it repeatedly. And Queen Victoria reportedly had candied lovage seeds sewn into the hems of her dresses to snack on between meals. 2,000 years of feeding people in high places and low places, almost completely absent from modern gardens. It tastes like celery, but more complex, more aromatic. One plant supplies a family with all the celery-like flavor they need for an entire season, and it comes back every spring for 30 years. One warning, it gets enormous. 6 to 7 feet tall, planted at the back of a bed. Rich moist soil, half-day sun minimum, dappled afternoon shade in hot climates. Sow a quarter inch deep with fresh seed only. Space 18 to 24 inches. I planted one lovage 7 years ago. It comes back every March, one of the first things out of the ground, and I use it from April through November, one planting. Decades of harvest. That's the math old kitchen gardeners understood, and I wish somebody had put it in front of me sooner. Before we get to the last one, 3 patterns I want to name. The first pattern, treating shade like a problem. Most of us search for plants that will tolerate shade, as if it's a punishment. What this list shows is that for these crops, shade isn't something they tolerate. It's what they were built for. The second pattern, giving up on perennials too fast. Good King Henry, hostas, lovage, sweet Sicily. These ask for 1 or 2 seasons of patience, then feed you for decades. That is an overwhelmingly good trade, and most people miss it. The third pattern, thinking shade means low productivity. My shadiest strip outproduced my main sunny raised beds last July because everything in full sun bolted and turned bitter, and the shade crops just kept going. And here we are at number 12, the one I saved for last because it represents everything we've talked about today. Ostrich fern fiddleheads. Ferns are 300 million years old. They evolved before flowering plants existed, before bees, before most of what we recognize as nature came into being. Ferns were already covering the forest floor in low filtered light, pulling food out of near darkness. They have been doing this longer than anything else in your garden, by a margin that is almost impossible to hold in your head. The Maliseet, the Mi'kmaq. The Penobscot peoples of eastern Canada and Maine have harvested ostrich fern fiddleheads as one of the first foods of spring for as long as their memory goes back. The Maliseet believe fiddleheads cleanse the body of the long winter. First Nations introduced them to Acadian settlers in the early 1700s, and from there, the tradition spread through New Brunswick, Quebec, and northern New England. Fiddleheads are Vermont's official state vegetable. In Japan, they're called kogomi, prized sansai with their own ancient harvest traditions. Here's where I spent years doing this wrong. I kept treating them like annuals, planting a bare crown and giving up after one season when nothing had produced. These plants take 2 to 3 years to establish. That felt like too long to me for years. Then I stopped thinking about it that way. I planted 3 bare root crowns in the wet shaded corner behind my shed, the corner that floods every spring that I'd written off completely. 5 years ago. I got my first real harvest in year 3, and every April since, without me doing a single thing, the fiddleheads push up through cold soil in tight, bright green coils, and I have 2 weeks to harvest them before the fronds unfurl into the massive vase-shaped ferns they become. That's the thing about these crops, the perennials especially. They ask you to plant them once, give them a few seasons of patience, and then they simply work. No tilling every year, no buying seeds, no fighting heat in July. You put them in the right place, the place that already exists in your yard. The place you've been walking past for years thinking it's useless, and they do what they've always done. For April planting, bare root crowns at soil level, 3 to 5 feet apart in your wettest, shadiest spot. Rich soil, consistent moisture, mulch with leaf litter, no harvest for 2 years. When you do harvest, take no more than 2 or 3 fiddleheads per crown. Harvest window is 2 to 4 weeks when the coils are tight and no more than 6 inches tall. Cook them, never eat raw. Boil 15 minutes or steam 10 to 12. Then tell me you have wasted space in your yard. 300 million years of shade adaptation, and all it needed was a corner. If you learned something today, hit that like button. It genuinely helps other growers find this. Drop a comment below. Are you team Shade Garden Perennial, as team Quick Harvest Greens, or team I'm going to the garden center right now to buy hostas and eat them? And if you haven't subscribed yet, hit that button and ring the bell so you never miss a video. The shady corners of your yard have been waiting a long time for this. Time to put them to work.